This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 263 of This is the G Podcast. Yes. What's up, y'all? Trying to hit it with that. Yes. Each week, of course, we do news, politics, pop culture, and that piping hot tea from the one and only Tanya B. Give it up for Tanya B. is in the building. Tanya B., how you doing? What you say?
I said, I'm fine. I'll be better when I find a house, but I'm almost there.
Yeah, she is house hunting. Gotta get that tiny house. It's out there waiting for you.
Better get it for the tariffs hit.
I know it. Oh, it really will be tiny. Yeah, absolutely. I gotta say what's up. You heard him, y'all. The one and only country commentator's in the building. What's up, Vi? How you doing, man?
Surviving, man. Surviving.
I hear you. And he is in the building, Talib Shabazz. What's up, Talib?
Yeah. How's everybody doing? Yeah.
What's up, man? And y'all, you've heard about the cuts at HHS, and today's guest was one of the victims. You don't say victim, but affected by the cuts at the CDC. We're in the Atlanta area, Atlanta Metro, Bison, south of us, and most of the times he's here. But hello to Nic. Nic, how you doing?
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Hey, how's everything going with you?
Good, good as can be.
I hear you.
Good as can be.
Tell our audience, because one of the things we talk about this, we've been talking about this for the last few weeks, and I want to thank the fam for reaching out to me and suggesting people, and you came up as one of the folks impacted or affected by the cuts at the CDC here in the ATL. Tell the audience your role with the CDC, how it went down.
So yes, I have been with the CDC for about 18 years, 2 years as a contractor, and almost 19 years as a contractor, and the last 16 plus years as an FTE. My last role prior to being part of the reduction in force was a team chief located in Atlanta's Human Resources Office.
Okay.
And I supervised the staff, and we were responsible for a lot of the things that the American people benefit from. But, our staff works behind the scenes to ensure that the competency level of all of our public health workers is intact when they go out into the field to do their work.
Okay. So, and let me mention this because back in February, there were some probationary cuts that happened where I'm looking at about 700 plus CDC workers were let go.
Yes.
But a judge came in and ruled that was unconstitutional, and those folks are actually still on payroll and soon to be reinstated. How does that impact you?
So we did have some folks in our division and our department within HR that they were unfortunately subject to being let go because of probationary periods. What a lot of people don't realize is some of those folks were not actually on probation, right? You had clerical errors. You had so many different things that's factored in, and so many people were let go unjust. And I think that's where the judge ruled. There's also laws, right? And laws dictate what can and cannot be done. And Congress typically is responsible for removing employees in the federal workforce. And that's pretty much what the judge ruled. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to go into too much legalities, but that's pretty much what happened. And a lot of those folks, they were told to bring them back March 17th. They still have not been back. They're on what's called administrative leave. So you'll hear me talk a little bit more about admin leave, right? That's what they terminated us for a period of time, and then they put us in admin leave. And admin leave is where you are essentially being paid, but you are not providing work. That's something I personally have a problem with. I'm committed to my job. I'm committed to the American people and being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. So I am uncomfortable, having to be at home, but still being paid up until a certain period of time. Do I think that us being terminated was unjust? Absolutely, because there was no time taken with the probationary folks, as well as those of us who on April Fool's Day were given our termination letters.
Wow.
You know, so there's so much to dissect and so much to unravel, but I think that it's important that, you know, this picture that's being painted of federal workers as though we're lazy, or, you know, we don't work, or, you know, or we're somehow inefficient. I think it's not fair. In any industry, you have people who are either, they're in three categories. They're in the high performers, the workers, they're in the people who do their job, and then there are the poor performers. And I think what was not done is a full assessment of people's skills, their contribution. That was not done, and that's something that I am definitely fighting to have done, and so many others alongside me.
So let me ask you, I've been in a situation where, you know, reduction in force had to be taken into account or activated, where, you know, I've done it, and I've also been on the other end of it. So, but it's always pretty clear as to why. Do you think it was made clear in the process?
It was not. No, I think this time around it wasn't. I think, you know, the federal government, it's in its own entity, right? There's rules, there's legalities, there's regulations, there's the law. And typically when you are looking at a reduction in force, it's definitely something that no federal agency wants to do, right? But it's something that sometimes has to be done, right? If a budget or a workforce needs to be shrunk, this is the unfortunate piece of it, which is that what's called a RIF, a reduction in force. Mm-hmm. But it's supposed to be done in a certain way. You're supposed to look at things like bump and retreat rights, right? Where you can, you know, you can be bumped or you can retreat back to a previous role. These are all things that you can shuffle people around. That was not taken into account. Also, tenure. How long have you been with the federal government? Looking at your performance, your last 3 years, have you had great performance evaluations? Looking at veterans preference, looking at your function. So there's so many different things that take into account. So typically when we were first told that, hey, there's going to be a RIF, you know, those of us, we start crunching the numbers in our head, we start logging into the system, we look at our personnel file. And when you look at your personnel file and you're seeing, you know, 18 years and you're seeing my last 3 performance evaluations, I've gotten the highest marks, which is 5, right? You can't get any higher than that. So it shows that I'm doing my job and I'm doing it at an exceptional level. And looking at what I do, what my functions are, I definitely thought for sure I would survive a first round because of my tenure, mm-hmm. right? But then when I'm looking at my staff, I have people on my staff that I supervise who also have veterans preference. They got let go as well. And that's when I started to investigate and started to look at how were some people let go and some people were not. They're in the same area, their same competitive stands. And that's when I realized, upon looking it up, that they used admin codes. They determined a competitive area based on an admin code. And the reason why I was able to determine that is, of all the supervisors within my work unit, I was the only one that was let go. So when I looked at our admin codes, I was incorrectly put into a wrong admin code. So I happened to be part of that group that departed the agency. So I have a problem with that. Like I said, I have been with the federal government for a very long time. And I know that at the end of the day, we are stewards of the American people. We are here as servants of the American people to ensure we're doing a fantastic job when it comes to delivery and service and competency level. So that's the first thing. So I don't have a problem with a RIF. I do have a problem with an illegal RIF. A RIF that did not follow the proper protocol. A RIF that separated people from service, but most importantly, a callous RIF that chose 5:06 a.m. on April Fool's Day to send a letter, not telling us that we have a month or a week. Effective that day, we would be barred from the building.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you.
Problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, and anyone would. honestly. And you guys, Tanya B, Vi, Talib, jump in if you have a quick question or if you have a question. I do want to ask, because we talked about this as well on the show, Congressional, your representatives in the area, not all are part of the current administration as a majority. Some are in the minority. Did they show up for y'all? And what I mean by that is you've heard in other states where you've had people in Congress or even local representatives, state representatives who may show up and talk about job fairs and just in general. Have they shown up?
From my perspective, and I would never say they have not shown up. I just have not been exposed to that. So they may in fact have showed up.
I
right?
just want
they may in fact have showed up. But I can tell you that, April Fools, when I went to pack my stuff up and console my staff members, one of which just lost his mother-in-law 2 days prior, so he was on leave. So I had to call him and, just consoling folks. And, one of the things that I would say is I personally didn't see it, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. I'm a firm believer in never creating a false narrative. So I definitely don't want to be party to a narrative if they have shown up, but Nic Blaize just didn't see it. So I can't speak on that because I haven't seen it but I do know that the leaders within our organization have made themselves available to ensure that we know how to file an appeal, which I've already done. We know how to, send a message up to OPM about what's happened. So, we've had our internal folks within the agency that are still there that have showed up and to let us know, what we can and cannot do.
And I'm not in, my intent is not to sow a narrative. It's really asking, were they there? Yeah. I mean, have you heard anything? Have you seen anything?
Yeah,
because typically,
I personally have not.
Yeah, it's a situation where it has. When you look at the CDC in the Atlanta area, a lot of employees, a lot of folks impact that Emory, Clifton Road area. There's a lot of impact, not only from an impact of people employed, but it impacts the businesses in the area, the fewer people. I mean, would you agree?
Yes, definitely. It impacts a lot of people. But one of the things that I want people to also recognize and understand is, I remember thinking back to my just turned 17-year-old self when I graduated high school and was embarking on college. Everyone knew I wanted to work at the CDC, right? My yearbook has a teacher that actually signed, "Good luck at the CDC." So I think what people are also missing is, yes, we, the employees, were impacted, but the American people are also impacted. You have young minds who literally, they see what we do and they want to be just like federal workers and they want to make an impact. So when federal workers are discarded so easily, without, just cause, it sends a rippling effect just to those young minds also who are right now in school, and their goal is to become a federal employee, to become a good steward of the American people. So there is a lot of lasting effects that we just won't see right now, but these are real people with real careers and I mean, the passion. I wish you can take a day. I wish Doge, I wish, the president, I wish they would take a day to walk the halls, not to walk the halls, because we did see some Doge people while we were packing up, snickering in the corner, watching us. So we that did happen. I witnessed it personally because I didn't recognize the person, but really taking the time to spend a day in the life of our lab folks. Our folks who, do payroll, our folks who create the budget, procurement, training and development, curriculum. I wish that there was some way that people got a glimpse into the everyday life. You have people who, like myself, when we work remotely, prior to us coming back into the office a few months ago, when we work remotely, check the logs. Sometimes 10 o'clock at night, I am logged in working to the point that my supervisor will say, Nick, log off. But because there's so much work that has to get done, and I want to make sure that it gets done, I'm logged in, I'm committed. And I just wish that there was some time taken to really look at our contributions.
All right, Tanya B., you got a question.
Yeah, but, and I have a cousin. She's been at the CDC for 35 years. And that's kind of all she wanted to do. She went there as a temp and she ended up staying. And that's really, that job has become her life. And I'm feeling like she might have been affected because she's not said anything to anybody in the family. But anyway, and she kept saying, I'm going to retire, I'm going to retire, I'm going to retire. And then she never would because she was, like you said, so committed to this job was one thing. And sometimes when you have people that are loyal, committed, and just, just all in, that's a very unique type of employee to have, because it doesn't happen now, especially these Gen Zs don't have X, Y, Z, whoever they are, the millennials, they don't have that work ethic yet. And it would take someone like yourself and the people who have been there, who are career people, to teach them that, because that's the next generation of workers in this country. That concerns me, number one. Number two, all the knowledge that they have kicked out the door, with no plan in place.
No succession planning at all.
That concerns me. And I'm saying that, and that's the other thing is, okay, so they've told you and so many other hundreds of thousands of people across this country, pack your stuff and leave. But who's going to do your work now that you're not there? And this next generation coming in is probably not prepared to do it the way it needs to be done. So that concerns me as well. And just even, the orange man saying, okay, CDC, you can't post weekly updates anymore to let people know what's really going on. And I know the American Medical Association has done that. But, my question is, they have no plan. So it's almost like, okay, shut down the lab, shut down your computer, and we're just going to leave everything shut off. And that makes this country and, just the people so vulnerable. And did they even say to y'all, okay, this is not a joke, you've got to pack up, like almost like you're getting evicted overnight, if you will, an unlawful eviction, let's call it that, an unlawful eviction. Did they even say, I guess they've done nothing to help you transition into something else? Did you get any severance? Do you get any pension? Do you get to take any vacation time or personal time that you had in the bank?
All right, let's stop there.
I know that's a
Nick,
lot, but I'm like,
that's a lot. Unpack that, Nick.
It really does speak to what's really happening. So we were told, April 1st, April Fools, that, effective today, we are on admin leave. So we are on an admin leave until June 2nd. And then after June 2nd, we will have what's called a break in service. And depending on that employee's standing, some will be entitled to a severance. I would be entitled to a severance because of my tenure and certain other parameters. So we will have that option. The problem is that folks were not given bump opportunity, so that we can bump or retreat back to something we've done before. I am one of those employees that, when I started my career, I first started as a federal career, first as a contractor. And then after 2 years as a contractor, I became a federal career intern. So I started as an intern, a GS-9 intern. And I worked my way up, and I applied for my first promotional position that took me to what we call a lateral, right? So it didn't give me a promotion to a higher grade, but it took me from being part of the accepted service to being a career employee, meaning I'm now competitive. I can now apply for things. And I worked my way up. I started as an administrative assistant. I then became a public health advisor in the field. And just to give you a little touch of what public health advisors do. So for 6 years, I was responsible for certain states I was assigned to ensure if we have a natural disaster, anthrax, Zika, Ebola, those states are ready to respond. So
Yeah.
I manage those states and the budget that entails. I manage the budget of over $75 million.
Wow.
Now, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I worked my way up, eventually becoming a GS-14 supervisor. So I'm not someone who just sat around. Not only did I do a great job, but I also wanted to be a part of the decision making so that I can also impact the workforce. So they're not, they're really cutting us off. And they're leaving the American people vulnerable by having institutional knowledge walk out the door with no plan in place, to answer your question, Tanya.
Yeah, real quick. Vi has a question, I think. Vi,
No, I have a fraternity brother who worked for CDC. He said he's one of the fortunate ones that didn't get let go. He was saying the experience of seeing that many people lose their job that day was like, he said, it's one of the worst things everything he went through besides being deployed. So for him to say that must mean it was like, I guess dealing with the emotions of seeing people lose their job must have been terrifying. Not terrifying, but just so disappointing and hardening, I guess, to see.
Lots of tears. There were lots of tears because this job became, part of what we did, but it was our careers, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just a job, it was our careers. And we also formed a family. These are people who, when someone passes away, we go to their services. When someone's getting married or having a child, we are part of each other's lives. And it just really, it's eye-opening, to be honest with you. It is eye-opening because you realize that at some point, your hard work can literally be disposed of. But the message that if there's anyone listening that is impacted by the RIF, the message that I would love to share is that this doesn't happen to us. Sometimes it happens for us.
Yeah.
And in this moment, I just ask everyone to be still and silent for a moment so we can hear God's next assignment. Because make no mistake, these things happen and occur with a plan in motion. We just may not be visible or be able to see it in this moment, but make no mistake. And there's also a lot of us that we are still fighting the good fight. We know that we were let go unjust. We love our job. We want to be reinstated, and we're going to work our butts off to get back where we were and continue to doing an amazing job.
Excellent. Good stuff. Nic Blaize, former CDC employee, and telling us what's next for her, and definitely I see bright things. So stay focused and do what you do best. I'm sure, because I can. Well, I'm going to leave it at this for the rest of the podcast. I'm not going to pull you into it, but Nic, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
for
much.
stopping by. Keep us posted. Also,
definitely will. And thank you guys for giving a space to share. We have great workers, and I'm happy I had an opportunity just to give you a small glimpse into our passion and what we do. Thank you so much for having me today.
No problem.
People need to know that, that it takes a special type of person, to do what you do.
Yeah, excellent. Good stuff. Take care. Yeah, thank you so much, Nic Blaize. Hey, just real quick, any quick thoughts before we go to the news, Tanya B?
One thing, just what she was saying about how those people are special, I'll be really quick with this. I know you remember when my cousin, the DeKalb County Sheriff-elect, was murdered, Derwin Brown, and my cousin Renee, who is his baby sister, she needed to take time off. She needed time off to go to the trial every day with, his family and, my aunt, her mother. And when she ran out of personal time off and vacation time off, her fellow employees at the CDC donated their vacation time so that she could go to this trial and not lose her salary. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, y'all. Hey, we'll come back and chat a little bit more about it and what's going on. Let's go ahead and do news with Syracuse Mike. We'll come right back. Here we go.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
Tuesday, elections in 2 states proved to be very important to the Trump White House. In Florida, 2 conservative districts filled vacant U.S. House seats with Republicans. However, in Wisconsin, a liberal judge easily won a seat on the state Supreme Court. That means Wisconsin's high court will continue to lean left. This race was seen as an early indicator of how voters feel about the Trump administration's policies. Political groups backed by Elon Musk spent $17 million on the race.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, is the only time in my life I can tell you no.
That's the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, on the floor speaking to Senator Cory Booker.
Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
Booker broke the late Senator Strom Thurmond's record for the longest speech in the chamber. Thurmond was trying to stop a 1957 civil rights law. Booker's focus was on the Trump administration's spending cuts, its attempt to abolish the Department of Education, efforts to get around the judicial system, and other issues. No legislation was involved, so the speech was not really a filibuster, but more of an attempt to bring attention to a number of issues. Just after making history, Booker was not ready to stop.
I want to not quite wrap this up yet.
The senator from New Jersey finished his marathon speech just after 8 p.m. Tuesday. President Trump declared Wednesday Liberation Day. At a big White House event, he announced his latest round of tariffs against just about every major country in the world. Economists say the tariffs will impact U.S. consumers, who will be hit with higher costs for imported goods. Mr. Trump says the tariffs will bring jobs and manufacturing back to the U.S. To say Wall Street had a bad reaction to President Trump's newly announced tariffs might be an understatement. The reaction was terrible. President Trump announced a 10% tariff on all imports and higher reciprocal tariffs on countries that the White House labeled as unfair when it comes to their trade policies. Just about every key nation around the world was hit. Thursday, the president tried his best to reassure U.S. consumers that this was the right move. On Air Force One, he said,
"The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal?"
The markets did not boom at all after Mr. Trump's announcement. The Dow was down by nearly 1,700 points. The NASDAQ was down nearly 6%. Not good news for your 401k. An even worse day this Friday on Wall Street as the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 2,200 points. The world is not reacting well to those tariffs announced by President Trump this week. At first, Canada's Prime Minister tried to find a silver lining.
Well, it's progress that further tariffs were not imposed on Canada yesterday. The President's actions will reverberate here in Canada and across the world.
That's Mark Carney Thursday, and here's British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
A trade war is in nobody's interest, in my view. But of course, we have to protect ourselves, and that's why we're keeping all options on the table.
Friday, China announced reciprocal tariffs of 34% on all imports from the United States. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says some of the purged programs and workers will be reinstated. He said cutting them was a mistake.
There were a number of instances where studies that should have not have been cut were cut, and we reinstated them. Personnel that should not have been cut were cut, we're reinstating them, and that was always the plan.
The oops, we made a mistake revelations have become part of the rapid DOGE layoffs and eventual rehiring process of the current administration.
Oops, we made a mistake indeed. I do want to say thanks to Nic Blaize, CDC, for stopping by, and I wasn't trying to pull her into my narrative, but I do have to ask. I mean, I always ask, because the CDC is a big part of the Atlanta community. It's a huge part of the Atlanta community, and to not have your representative or the representatives connecting with those people, it just sounds odd. I don't know if it sounds odd to you, Tanya B. No. And when I say representatives, I mean your congressional representatives.
The people you
because
vote.
In a lot of cases, those are Democrats. But go ahead.
But you vote them in to work on your behalf and to advocate for you. It's just like if you were in Detroit and they shut down Ford and GM, where are those politicals and those activists? And again, those people, there's the city council people and, the state and federal level that you put in place for that. Like you said, where's Waldo?
Yeah. I just want to get that in and say thank you. And she handled that really well. I mean, because, she's more focused on, the individuals, the people, and what's next. So I look forward to hearing more from her on that. Yeah.
TB, one
Go
thing
ahead.
I heard, I don't know, I just say allegedly, because no, there's so much stuff going on. I don't even know if conspiracy theories even exist anymore. But in order to, I guess, justify getting rid of some of those people, and what Nick was talking about, how they had these, almost perfect job performance reviews. But then there is a theory that in order to justify that and not, I guess, be open to a lawsuit, that as he's done many other times before, the Muskie one, had the employee files hacked to downgrade the employee performance, and I really hope that that's not true.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past apt pupil. I wouldn't put it past.
Not at all. Not at all.
I wouldn't. Real quick, just a couple of things we didn't drop in this week from Mike. New York Mayor Adams has been acquitted, like clean slate.
Clean slate.
He is back in the race.
He did what?
Now he's got. I mean, former New Yorker. I'd love your thoughts on this, but he has been basically allowed to get back in the race. He's at 7% in terms of overall polling right now, and Cuomo's at Cuomo's like at 39%, 40%.
He has no chance.
So it'll be interesting, and that's what I agree with you, Vi. I don't think he's got a chance, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of support he gets from John Wickless at the White House.
Because
right now. Go ahead.
Everybody know what you did. So what you got? You got a clean slate through the government, but not the people. The government don't put you in office. The people does. So the people not going to vote for you now.
Yeah, and I don't see. I mean, New Yorkers can't stand him. The guy in the White House. So we'll see how that goes down. The other thing is, and we'll talk about this on the political side, the roundtable. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms has decided to go for Governor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Can I get it out? Don't be looking. Come on, Talib. Come on, Tanya B. Don't be looking at me like that. All right. Well, anyway. And TikTok is apparently in talks with Amazon.
And Walmart. And Walmart.
Oh, my God.
This is Walmart blackout week, by the way, people. This is blackout week for Walmart.
Yeah, of course, the two suspect companies are jumping in at the bidding or at the encouragement of who. So I'm sure that's the case. All right, y'all. Tanya B, you ready?
I guess so.
Talib, why are you so quiet, Talib?
Let me go down here and come back.
I was just waiting for my turn,
Your turn. And you got your Hawks hat on too? Yeah.
New hat.
There you go, new hat. Hey, y'all, here we go.
Now then, children, it's time for tea.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tanya B.
It's always your turn, man. It's always your turn, brother.
Talib's turn, because I know, anybody who does this swatting, a lot of celebrities have had people swatted, and even the devil in female sheep's clothing, Marjorie Taylor Greene's been swatted, but she deserved it. But there was this whole swatting situation with the Atlanta rapper DJ Scooter, who ended up losing his life because some woman who is in jail, and that's where she needs to be, because as far as I'm concerned, she is an accessory to murder. Okay? Because he lost his life behind her shenanigans. Just whatever it wasn't true. So I don't have sympathy. I don't have empathy for this woman. Because again, here's, a mother has lost her son. Children have lost their father because she got mad at somebody and said somebody was maybe it was her, maybe right. She thought she allegedly got beat up before the SWAT call. If she in the county, she really getting beat up now.
Oh yeah.
About this whole thing about this young man needlessly losing his life. And while I'm not entrenched in the Atlanta hip hop scene, let's call a thing a thing. Talib, I'm gonna deflect to you, and I know you're a aficionado of all things Atlanta hip hop and R&B. And where did all of this Michigan come from?
To be honest, I'm not really sure where the beef started between Miss Spence and young Scooter, but all I can say is that that's some trifling mess right there. You know, you're going to make a call to 911 to say that somebody's being, you know, there's a case of domestic violence happening at this address. And, you know, when the police show up, you know, these two guys, you know, they're like, oh man, it's the cops. And they got to go. And, you know, you lose your life by jumping over a fence and cutting, you know, your you know, an aorta, what is it? I forget what the vein is called.
It was a major artery in his leg.
Yeah, right. And that's how he dies. So, you know, it's a couple things going on. It's like, why are you just running at the sight of the police? Well, we know why you're just running at the sight of the police. Allegedly.
Right.
If you're black and a man and you see a bunch of police, you know.
Right. So, you know, it's unnecessary. And I'm just tired of seeing all the unnecessary stuff, you know.
Yeah. Hey, so was that, and I'm confused on one thing. There had Young Thug, basically there's a threat by Fonnie Willis to basically have his probation revoked. Yeah. Did that have anything to do with this and his commentary on this at all, or was that a separate incident?
No, it didn't. I think this was as far as I know, it's a separate case. But what happened with the Young Thug thing is there was a special witness, an investigator, and who was supposed to be anonymously giving her testimony, you know, to the public. And somebody in the court took a picture of the investigator and said, well, you know, she doesn't want to be, you know, known, so I'm gonna make sure she's known.
Like Doxter.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what Thug had commented on.
Okay, got it. Okay. I thought it was because in Atlanta, on the news right now, those two stories are hot and heavy. Appreciate you, man. Go ahead, Tanya B. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then there was something about, they also put up that woman's home address as well. That got posted. And I think, like Talib was saying, there was something that Young Thug allegedly intimated where there was mention of a gun, or he was acting like he was pointing a gun. It was something very 7th grade. And, you know, you would hope that at this point in time, you know, he's on eggshells. He needs to be very, very careful about what he says and does, especially on social media.
Right. Don't say shit. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Don't look at nobody. Don't talk to nobody until all this dies down. Really, I would be like, I'd move to another city in Georgia.
And he's on probation for 15 years.
Damn, 15 years?
Yeah, so yeah, they're going to violate.
Yes.
Well, he could have been in jail 15 years too, but yeah.
Believe it, he's going to get violated. They're going to rescind some shit on Thug.
And he'll do something stupid, or be with somebody, you know, you're not supposed to be with other convicted felons, you're not supposed to be around guns, and you know, they say, oh, probation, I'm out of jail, but you have to walk a very fine line when you're on probation.
If they put you
15 years.
If they put you on probation 15 years, they plan on putting you in jail.
They do.
15 years.
Probably will violate.
15 years.
Step on a crack.
And you know what? Anyway.
What you got next time, you Go ahead.
No, we talked last week. I'm sorry, go ahead, bye.
He should have made a deal and said, give me my 3 or 5 years. Let me get it on out the way.
Again, he thought he didn't want to go to jail. And like I said, people think being on probation is like, oh, I'm still out and I'm free.
No.
You know, really, you're not.
Back in the day, they offered my cousin that, and he had been in and out so many times. The last time I offered him probation, he said, I don't want it. Let me finish my time.
Because they know there's a way.
Because let me finish my time. so when I get out, I am totally a free man.
Right.
So true. So true.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tiny B.
Last week we talked about the death of boxing legend George Foreman, and then here comes old greasy trailer park Hulk Hogan talking about the only reason he got the grill was because they offered it to me first. Well, if they offered it to you, and I guess you turned it down, then you know what? Shame on you, because George Foreman left an estate of $300 million, which will be distributed amongst his 12 kids and 15 grandkids. So George Foreman got the last laugh, and Hulk Hogan need to go somewhere and sit down.
Actually, Hogan looks stupid. You turned it down.
Exactly. Why are you telling about that now?
Why you want the world to know that you turned it down? Because you ain't got no money right now. You turned it down.
Right. You want the world to know how how stupid, how ignorant you are to the laws of good business.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Talib.
That story has been going around for years. This is not the first time Hulk Hogan has been talking about that. But
Too late now.
yeah, but again, it's like, at first it was, deals that I missed out on. You know what I mean? When I first heard the stories, it was like, can you believe that I passed this up? And now it's well, the only reason it's you're a dick. You're a dick and you're a dummy. And you thought that
that's basically what it sounds like. You're a dummy.
Next up, I say after many false stops and starts and threats of lawsuits and whatnot, Ice Cube says it's finally happening. Another installment. I'm hearing the last installment of the Fridays film franchise. This movie is supposed to be called Last Friday. He's writing the movie and he's starring in it. He had some issue getting, I guess, the rights to it back from Warner Brothers, and then things just kind of broke down. But inquiring minds want to know. People are wondering who will be in the cast, how many of the originals. I know we don't have John Witherspoon, but who else will be in this fourth installment of Friday, and what the plot will be, and will people like Chris Tucker and Clifton Powell come back? And it's been they're almost 40 years, because the first Fridays came out in 1995. That's 30 years. Yeah. So I think people will look forward to that. And
so let me ask you quick, Tanya B. Considering Ice Cube's affiliation politically in some cases, you think that's going to have any impact on the success?
I think there are some people that won't care, and I think they're going to try to reach a new audience. That those people that weren't born, with Friday and next Friday or Friday after next, that have no, they have no idea about was it Pinky the Pimp? They have no idea about that. So I think what he's going to do with this is try to make it, some things from the originals, like the first 3 installments, something new to capture a new audience who doesn't know that he's a MAGA.
Yeah, and Talib, you feel the same way. People will just jump on the entertainment.
Yeah. People are becoming less and less enthused about or excited about Cube's affiliations politically. And, I don't think that's really going to have any bearing on it. People remember the Friday, and Friday is one of those nostalgic movies that, you hear quotes from every day. So, And in
a lot of cases, we really don't even know. It's hard to even pinpoint where Cube's affiliations are. He just shows up.
Right.
You notice he's been really quiet since the first of this year. He's been very quiet.
Been very quiet.
Wise man.
And that's probably why. He wants something else in the news cycle. And speaking of the news cycle, this is one that hasn't gone away. People are making parodies about it. Never should have paid it. Never should have, closed the door. I think I sent y'all a parody about a minister that did the Marvin Sapp parody to Teddy Pendergrass, Close the Door. Come on, Usher. So anyway, it was interesting. But, he got dragged for filth, and rightfully so. And then he says, well, maybe I was a little too overzealous. But what people also don't realize is, this just didn't happen. This is an old clip that somebody dug up from somewhere. It didn't just happen. And what you also do not see is him saying to the other pastors on the pulpit, y'all need to peel off $100 to me right now. It costs money to be up here. So maybe he was overcome by all of the perspiration and not wearing his dry wick shirt like he should have. As a result of this, now it's, I guess we're supposed to have empathy, because now he claims he and his family are getting death threats. But
that's too much, man. That's too much.
He gave people a stick with which they used to beat him in the head. So I'm not condoning the fact that people are threatening him and his family, but you know what? Dumb diddy, But the other thing is, this is how the church operates. This is why a lot of people leave. And this is why a lot of young people don't go. So, I'm sure every church in America over the last week and probably tomorrow will see a reduction in the tithes and offerings of those parishioners that are there. Because I know the church is a business. It's a nonprofit business. But again, he could have said what he said, but the way he did it, his delivery sucked. And that's what people are pissed about. Because he's not the first, or nor will he be the last one to do this. Again, the delivery sucked.
Yep. What else you got? You got anything else?
And do I have anything else? I don't know if this is going to be
the last one.
A smart move. One more thing. BET is trying to resurrect, I guess, get their black card back by resurrecting 106 in Park and Keke Palmer, who everybody loves. They think she'll be the draw and that she'll bring it back. But I don't know about you, because, that was our generation and maybe our nieces and nephews' generation. They don't care anymore. People have moved on. And I don't know that Keke Palmer and somebody else I never heard of are going to bring a whole new audience of people to BET, because these kids don't care about that. They watch.
Well, I'm gonna say this real quick. I think, with social media, man, people have so much access to these folks already. Back when 106 in Park was hot, the reason why 106 in Park was hot was because we didn't have social media, barely had the internet.
Right.
So basically, you were finding out and hearing people and seeing people, just like going back to Video Soul. It's like you were just really getting to see people for the first time.
Right.
And I'm not sure. I think Keke Palmer is the right choice, but I think people see these artists all the time now. And plus, I think I'm gonna be quite honest. I don't think the talent level is there the way it used to be back in the day.
Oh no, it's not. Like you said, and if you got somebody who's making money off of their social media, why do they need to go on 106 in Park? It's just like I saw something today. They're trying to resurrect Soul Train. That's a moment in cultural history that you cannot
it's a whole
bring
show.
back. Again, back then we didn't have access to those people, so we were clamming around our television every Saturday morning watching Soul Train.
And ain't nobody gonna watch them lip sync now, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But go ahead.
And lastly, I want to say,
right,
rest in peace to the actor Val Kilmer. My favorite Val Kilmer movie was, of course, when he was Iceman in Top Gun, and at the CinemaCon, Tom Cruise did pay a tribute to him there. But he had so many other movies. I know you'll talk about them, but I will say, and he was a hot boy for a while, because he got some miles on his car. He dated Cher. Cindy Crawford, Angelina Jolie. He was out there pimping hard back in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, he was the man back then.
He fought a very long time. He fought the battle with the throat cancer, and once he had the surgeries, that's why his voice wasn't the way it was. But I think he kind of knew when the end was coming there. They were saying that he wasn't even getting out of bed, but he was due to be somewhere for something the day that he passed away. But I think everybody, I don't care whether you're black, blue, green, or grizzly gray, everybody knows or remembers something about Val Kilmer.
And I'll tell you, I mean, as an Xer, Gen X, when it comes down to probably looking at the actors of your time, I mean, because I remember they tried to position him as the hot boy when he did that movie Top Secret, which was from the Zuckerberg brothers, the ones who did Airplane.
He messed up when he did Batman.
Yeah, and then Batman,
that did.
And then of course you mentioned Top Gun, but I'll tell you the one, because I love music and I love all types of music. When he did Jim Morrison.
Oh my gosh.
The Doors. Now I'm not a huge fan, because Oliver Stone, you never knew what you were going to get.
Right.
But when you saw dude doing Jim Morrison, you're like, damn. And what I learned, he actually did like 50. He learned 50 songs. He learned how to perform them. 15 of those 50 made it into the movie. He was actually performing as Jim Morrison. They say he immersed himself in that character so much that he had to do therapy.
Yeah, they said
when it was over.
They said he
couldn't let it go.
They said he did it so good as for a singer. They said the original band member asked him to go on a tour with him.
Yes.
As the lead singer.
And you don't see that, man. As somebody who appreciates film, somebody who just appreciates music, even that came out like in 91, and I wasn't like, big into the Doors, but I had been big into Prince and really iconic people who perform. I went back and really got me into the Doors, and I started listening, and I'm like, damn, I didn't know that was a Doors. So I mean, when I hear Riders on the Storm and you hear the samples, or you hear what was the other one?
Light My Fire, even too.
Light My Fire. when you go back and you listen to like The Doors Essential, you listen to that, he got me to go back and just check out. And I'm like, I mean, really and truly, for me, it made me appreciate the Doors music more because dude put it down.
Yeah.
No lie.
Yeah.
You know, Meg Ryan, I forgot Meg Ryan was in the movie. But either way, going back, or if you want to kind of go back down memory lane, The Doors is on Pluto. And I'm coming to you definitely, Talib. The Doors is on Pluto right now if you want to go check it out for free. The movie, Oliver Stone. Tombstone, which I thought was iconic,
He played that
with
role.
Kurt Russell.
He made the movie.
You know, I'm your Huckleberry.
He made the movie. Bro. He made the movie on that one. Now.
He was Doc. What was it, Doc Holliday?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He made the movie.
When he stepped around the corner with that gun and said, "Hey, I'm your Huckleberry."
That's saying.
And then
right
also, what was the third? And the other iconic, Heat, the movie, Michael Mann's bank heist movie with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. That iconic bank heist, and he's a part of that. It's just like those three movies. Heat is on Netflix if you want to check it out, and Tombstone is on Hulu, and again on Pluto if you want to check out The Doors with a whole lot of commercials, but it's there. It is on Pluto. Go ahead, Talib.
I was gonna say actually my favorite Val Kilmer movie was Real Genius. I don't know if y'all remember that.
The first one. Yeah. That was like the at the end, the popcorn.
Yes, right.
The popcorn and the laser.
But the line in it though, when he says to this girl, and he walks up to this girl, he's trying to talk to the girl, and he's like, "Yeah, baby, you know such and such and such and such," and she looks at him and says, "Can you hammer a 9-inch nail with your dick?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "Well, a girl's got to have her standards." But I'm telling you, man, that's one guy that will be missed for real.
Yeah. And also, if you really want to see what he went through, because he was not. The other thing was he was not an easy actor to work with. That was the other big thing.
They said he was a perfectionist, like with the Jim Morrison situation. Yeah.
If you look at the biography, the movie he did where his kids actually produced the movie Val, it's on Amazon, and that really tells you a lot about who he is, because he was not easy. A lot of actors won't talk to him anymore. They stopped talking to him after they worked with him. They didn't, because he was the way he was. Yeah. All right, y'all. All right, so rest in power, man. I definitely went back and checked out all those movies. Tombstone this week when I heard about it, and I had to get that Huckleberry one more time, and then The Heist. And Heat's my movie. All right, y'all, you ready?
The Political Roundtable. All
right, man. Let's go ahead and wrap. Not completely wrap, but let's go ahead and do some politics. Kamala Harris broke the silence this week, and I want to play this and get your feedback on it. So let's go ahead. Here we go.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
Damn, was she right?
She's right. Everything she said was going to happen is happening.
Yeah. I saw the Liberty Project did a clip of everything she said on the campaign trail.
Yeah, I saw that.
We kind of dealt with that this week. In 1 week. Everything this week. Talib, you shake your head. Go ahead. What you got? Thoughts?
This is one of the few times where Kamala comes off script and it actually sounds good.
You're right.
So, you know, and I'm gonna be honest with you. You
Drum
know,
roll. Okay.
the thing is that Miss Harris, she was just not a good. I don't know what it was, but the way she was presented, the things that her people were telling her, is what made her lose. It wasn't that we didn't believe her about Donald Trump. It's that she gave us no reason to vote for her. You know what I mean? Other than stop Donald Trump. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I voted for Donald Trump, because I did not. But at the same time, you know, she was not a good choice. She just wasn't a good choice. And I think that's really what the problem was. You know, again, if she's not reading at a teleprompter, she sounds like crap. And I just don't understand how a DA could get that far and only be a scripted individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. But we're not going to relive it. I got you.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I mean, I got to say this. Now, if she's coming out like this, every time she does come out to say that, people are going to relive the election again. They're going to come up, I mean, with the same feelings Tlaib has. Tanya B, you got any thoughts?
I ditto everything he said. I said, people, it's almost like he said, I didn't mean to say I told you so. But, you know, I believe she is. You know, but I think she was, at that point, the Democrats was so desperate. You know, it's a shame when you are the only choice. And I believe she was their only choice, because they, you know, it's just like they have nothing in their storehouse with which to, you know, to come out swinging and fighting. And if they don't hurry up, it's going to be the same thing next year and every year after that. They have got to get some fresh blood and grow some balls. Period.
Yeah. True. So true. All right, so I saw this clip, and I want to thank Hitman Howie. He forwarded this to me, and it's a clip from 2017. And Eddie Hong, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the name. I sent you the clip.
Yeah. He's like the Asian Wayne's World. kind of.
Okay, yeah. And he wrote the book Fresh Off the Boat. Yeah. He spoke with white supremacist Jarrett Taylor, and this was back in 2017. And I got this clip with everything that occurred this week, and it really got me to think. And I'm going to go ahead and play it for you now. Of course, 2025. Here we go.
How it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If he were to deport all illegal immigrants, if he were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore. When my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian
achieved?
people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean,
it's one
I guess this is floating out on social media. This is from 2017. It's Jarrett Taylor and a self-professed white supremacist, and Eddie Wong. Tlaib, you set up. Thoughts?
Yeah. Finally, somebody said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I remember this clip. This clip was going around majorly before the election as well. You know, these Caucasians and this entitlement and this, false narrative that they've been building up forever. That, first of all, you know, the structure of our government comes from the Confederation of the Iroquois. You know what I mean? Like, this was not an original concept. You Caucasians, the Europeans who were escaping Europe, did not create this. They co-opted the idea of this government, just like they co-opt everything else. So, you know, again, I mean, I understand what people say in terms of, well, I put my money behind it, so this is my thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, that it just is just one more reason not to like white folk.
You know, let me say, man, you know, for me, and when I heard this, especially this week, it makes you think, or it makes you put everything in perspective, like the purging of the history, you know, DEI and the purging eventually, which is headed toward public schools, right, in terms of moving the money out of the public sector and giving it, quite frankly, what's about to happen is the money's going up for private schools, which is, you know, allowing more separation and segregation in schools. Restricting health care because basically you control what he worried about, self-preservation, where, you know, you let the weak get weaker. You understand what I'm saying? The other thing is, and I saw this, you know, this week when you purge and restrict access to wealth, because keep in mind, the rich folks aren't going to be impacted and affected from this week. You know, people are talking about how much money Elon has lost on Tesla, how much money, what's his name, Bezos or Zuckerberg. These guys will get this money back because, you know what, they can play the long game. That's you got to understand. The rich can play the long game and basically starve you out. You know, and I think what it basically allows them to do when you're doing this is gain more power. So I'm not surprised when there's this conspiracy theory going around that it's intentional, that the markets are being tanked, because it squeezes out the little guys.
Truly.
It squeezes out the immigrants. It squeezes out black folks who've got, you know, basically they live on their 401ks, right, you know, and they have to depend, or the day trader or somebody who's basically, let's say, you know, how you get stock options. If some company gives you stock options, your options are basically priced based on today's value. So, you know, if you need that money, let's say you woke up Friday morning and say, hey, I'm going to retire, I'm going on vacation, and the stock's at a certain price, and it's, well, based on how you can sell it, or where you can sell it, and it's 50% lower.
You're not going on vacation.
You ain't going on vacation.
Going anywhere.
You ain't going on retirement.
Welcome to Walton.
Yes.
Oh, really?
So when I look at history, public schools, healthcare, all this stuff, it makes me think, wow, you know, I can see where, you know, this guy wants to go back to the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, pre-Depression 1929. I can see what they're trying to do. Go ahead, Bob.
What I get from it, I've always felt that way, because once Obama won president, that's when the world went to hell. Because they were so shocked that a black man won. And they said they did not ever want to see that again. And my thing is, the people who need to pay attention to it, it's not the white people. We need to pay attention to it. Us black people, us brown people, us yellow people, we need to stop voting for these damn white folk, because they're not caring about us. You think you voting for them for their politics, but their politics is to shrink us. So why you vote for him? Even if you disagree with everything the Democrats believe in, the Republicans are actually telling you what they want to do, and you sided with them anyway. So that's why I really don't feel. I only feel sorry for the people who lost their job, who didn't vote for them. But the people who voted for them, they voted for them because they didn't think it was going to happen to them. Right. Yeah. So I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy for you, because you got what you asked for. So that's right. What basically, I'm pretty sure majority of the folks who lost their job in the government, they're making real good money. Yeah. And they are the ones who voted for him. Like the unions. Y'all didn't even vote for Kamala. Y'all sided with this man, and he is destroying the unions. So, no. The white folks already know that. We need to pay attention to that. We need to pay attention to it. We do.
Go ahead.
I'm talking about the rich black folks, the millionaires, the billionaires who got money. Okay, like you said, Tommy B, it's the long game. Bezos lose what, $2 billion? So what? He got 10 more. I mean,
hundreds more.
Like Charles Barker said, what is $2 billion gonna do to a man who got 8 more? It's only so much he can spend. That's just something. It's not hurting him. It's hurting us who making $100,000. Now we back down to 30. Now that hurt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, you need. That's all I'm saying. The wrong folks are paying attention to it.
Yeah. Tanya B.
Oh, I agree. Like, people are not looking at, like, something came out yesterday. They lost so many. I know the stock market's down 4 trillion? I think it is 4 or 5 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, you got Bezos and Muskie and the others. I'm like, they don't care. That does not affect them. All these, like Bob said, all these folks losing their jobs does not affect them. They don't care. If anything, they're probably, if they already haven't tried to finagle it now, they're trying to find a way, or they will find a way where this loss will just become a tax write-off, and then they just won't pay any more taxes. But that doesn't affect them, because we don't get to do that as the average American.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this. I don't quite throw the blanket, but I will say this. That's why you really have to understand. In my opinion, it's becoming more of a class war. Because if you have the money and you can play the long game with them, they will ignore your color just for that moment. But trust me, when things start getting bad for you, you gone. But if you can play that long game with them, it's cool. You're a part of, you're part of it. But I'm here to tell you, when I look at this week, and and I'm telling you, I'm one who spends time in the grocery store. Things are higher, y'all. I don't care what they're talking about when it comes down to there's relief. Relief. Everything is higher. I mean, even when we all drive cars. In Georgia right now, gas prices are up. Of course we're heading into spring, but it's not barely below 3. In some areas, well above 3. So, I'm just here to tell you, I think this is an interesting clip because it will force us to look at the people who are making these changes. I truly believe that this is the mindset of Musk. I think this is where he stands. I think that's his, and I've always thought this about Trump, about, John Wickless.
They're not, they're not doing anything for the middle class and poor people. They're not.
Yeah. No, Wickless is going for his. As a matter of fact, I guess this week's conspiracy theory was he's making deal with the countries who are, being hit with the tariffs where he has interest. So he kind of double. They say there's some double dipping going on for the government and for himself. So we'll see. All right, y'all. Hey, we'd love your thoughts. Scan the QR code. Our logo on social media is there. It's on that. Links are on all the social media pages. You can choose the people poll. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. You can leave us a message. We're on Spotify. We are a Spotify podcast, so follow us there. This is the G Podcast. Final shout outs. Start with you, Talib. Got any finals?
Yeah. On March 30th, 2025, we lost my father, Thomas Taiwo Duval, and he was a founding member of the Wayusi artist movement in Harlem in the 60s, and also a member of the Drums of Passion, which was a group, Olatunji and the Drums of Passion, the first international album that was recorded for Columbia Records in 1956. So what I would ask is that if anybody knows me or likes me or anything like that, you want to see what my dad has done, please, the Olatunji's albums are on all major streaming outlets. So go and listen, see what my dad did and why music is so important to me. But sleep in peace, Dad.
Yeah, definitely. And rest in power, and condolences to you and your family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Go to you, Vi.
But people, I've said my piece already.
Yes, you have.
So, hey, peace and goodwill. Everybody who's losing their job, I'm sorry. This is a hard time, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But all I can say, hey, stay strong and vigilant. Times will get better.
Yeah. Tanya B?
I was like, Khalif, shout out to you. When I was a kid in Boston, every summer, Olatunji would come to this event they had called Playhouse in the Park in Franklin Park. And that was for anybody who was black in Boston. That was a must go to, a must see. So I was going to be up there rocking with your father when I was a little goober. I'm telling you, that was like one of the heights of the summer season for black folks in Boston. Playhouse in the Park with Elma Lewis, who had a performance academy. But Olatunji, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me find my blackness.
Hey, look.
In a sea of milk, I'm telling you.
Okay.
That's why I went and got my black lesson. So,
right. Yes.
Shout out to Papa.
Appreciate it.
And also, I just want to say, shout out to my niece, Sage Williams in Philadelphia. She is going to the University of Pittsburgh. She's going to Pitt to study biology. Black girls in STEM. Hey. And also want to say shout out to some first-time listeners. They're from our New Jersey posse, 3 generations of women. Tajira, Patrice, and Patricia Green are hanging out with my sister in the DMV, and this young lady is going to, Tajira is going to tour Howard University, possibly become a student there. So other than that, I just say like, subscribe, share. Check that, scan that QR code, 50 cents a week for your 25 and 25. And when you scan, listen to the Birdwire.
Absolutely. It is there every week, y'all.
Yes, it is.
And my final thought, y'all, and Talib said it best, pay attention. Don't be distracted by Secretary Scratchy. I call him John Wickless, taking on Wickless, and President Wickless is taking on the world. And I call, what's his name, if you've seen the movie Apt Pupil, that's exactly who he is, Elon. Check out, you know what I'm talking about. I'm a Stephen King fan. The movie is Apt Pupil. Yes, trust. Understand what's really going down. Don't panic. And again, the long game. We gotta prepare to play the long game. Okay? All right, y'all. With that, episode 263 is in the can. Y'all have a great week. Keep your head up. Play the long game. See you next week. Peace and power to the people.
Peace out.
Power. Fight the power. Don't believe the hype.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. And This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.